We suffer more in our imagination than in reality. This quote by Seneca is something I go back to so often because when you're an entrepreneur, you are constantly not just fighting outside battles, you're fighting internal battles. You're fighting your own battles against fear, self doubt, dealing with uncertainty in your life. And when you're fighting those battles, most times, when you go out there and see what other entrepreneurs are talking about, what they're dealing with, people don't talk enough about how to manage that part, to manage what's going on in your own head. And that's what I want to deal with and rather talk about today in this episode of Founders Notes. So talk to you about 7 things that entrepreneurs kind of go through in their own minds that most people don't talk about. And if you know that, you will learn how to deal with them even better. Like I remember when in 2009 I started my first company, right? We had no business plan. We had a vague idea. We were very naive to think about all these things that we will be able to accomplish and do. But we also had a lot of fear inside. And I think back on that time, and I think back on the time when we eventually sold the company. We went from 2 people in an apartment to hundreds of people, multi-million-dollar business. Grew that to an extent where I felt it was time for me to leave. And taking that period away, taking that time to also think about everything that I've learned while I was being a hands-on father, while I was pursuing creative interests like this channel, has actually helped me put down and learn about the learnings I've had in my own process, in my own mind, as I get into my next company, which is EMoMee, where I have a clear purpose, a clear vision about what we're building. And taking these tools of what I learned over those years and using them now is giving me a great amount of value. So I thought I will share all of them with you on this episode. But before we go there, I want to make sure you click on subscribe and ring that bell icon. Go straight to 7 things most people don't talk about entrepreneurship, especially all those things that go on in your mind. Number 1, it's 90% emotion management and 10% everything else. As an entrepreneur, you have so many emotions all the time. You're excited, you're also bored. You're going through wins and you're going through losses. You're going through highs and lows at all times. And only you can manage them, right? And the ability to learn how to stay calm through it, how to stay, focused with clarity as much as possible through it is one of the most important skills you can gain as an entrepreneur. This is quote I love about this, which says that the more important a call or action is to our soul's evolution, the more resistance we feel towards pursuing it. This is by Steven Pressfield. It's pushing against that resistance and to stay calm and stay focused through it. That is my biggest learning as an entrepreneur. Number 2, you'll feel like an imposter more times than you would like to admit. Through the process of being an entrepreneur, you are going to ask yourself a set of questions. You're going to ask yourself, am I capable enough? You're going to ask yourself, do I really need to do this right now? You'll ask yourself, am I really focusing on the right things? You're constantly doubting yourself. And this battle with your self-doubt makes you feel like an imposter most times. And to learn to deal with that and to learn to navigate through that while holding that onto you can't just throw it away, is one of the most important things that you have to do. This is a quote which I love, which is, courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen. So Brené Brown. As long as you show up every day, no matter what you're battling with, you will continue to progress. The problem is, if you don't show up, success doesn't look like what you imagined. We all have this visual of success, right? You have these big wins and huge celebrations and this gigantic moment in front of thousands of people. But actually, success doesn't look like that. I remember when we sold our company, right? And that first big chunk of money came into my bank account. Me and my co-founder took screenshots, WhatsApped each other with smiling emojis. We got back to work. That is one of those moments which is stuck in my head. It was so tiny, it was so small, but it has so much more value to me than the day we signed, the day we announced it, all the press, all that stuff. Because that moment for me, while normal, it truly defined success for me. Many of these moments are small, they're unremarkable, and they define what success is to you. This is a quote that I love, which says that success is a process. It's the consistent, often ordinary, unglamorous things that you do every day that matter the most. This is by Simon Sinek. So remember that it's going to be small things that matter in the long term. So make sure you focus on them as well. And don't only expect the big things. Relationships will be tested and some just won't survive. Balance is the toughest thing to attain as an entrepreneur. Actually, I would like to say that balance is something you can't attain as an entrepreneur. We all strive for it, We all want it, but between work and our family and our friends and other things we might want to do for ourselves, you are never going to find balance. And when you don't find that balance, what often happens is things like friendships, things like family, things like relationships really suffer because you tend to choose the other stuff over them. And what you realize the older you get is that it's these very things, it's these friendships, it's these relationships, it's this family that you have that is the most important part. This is quote by Scott Galloway that clearly states this, right? It's that your relationships with people will determine your happiness, not your net worth. And as long as you focus on those, as long as you make sure that there's a certain amount of time allocated to that where you're truly present, you will find happiness no matter how high or low your success is. No one is coming to save you. No mentor, no investor, no co-founder, no employee. No one's coming to save you. You have to learn to save yourself. This is your journey. When you choose to be an entrepreneur, you need to know this is your journey. It's lonely at the top, even if you have a co-founder, and you have to learn how to navigate the ups and downs yourself. There's this quote by Marcus Aurelius, right? It says that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. So as an entrepreneur, when you are feeling lonely, when you are feeling like, oh, can someone save me? Just focus on the things that are under your control and take that step forward. That's all you need to do. You have to redefine what failure is. A lot of people look at failure as an endpoint. And when you look at it as an endpoint, you will never be able to pick yourself back up when you fall down. And believe me, as an entrepreneur, you are going to fall constantly. You might actually fall more than you will win or rise up. And when you look at failure, not as an endpoint, but actually as a data point, as something to learn from, your perception changes. The way you look at every single failure changes. When something has failed, okay, what I learned from this? Let's learn from this as a data point and move ahead. And the more you do that, you're not fearing failure. You're not fearing taking those calls that you know you need to take. You learn how to progress in the best possible way. And this quote by Tim Ferriss really states that well, right? Conditions are never perfect. Saying someday is a disease that will take your dreams to the grave with you. When you learn to expect failure, you don't fear it. Or rather, don't fear it as much. The real reward is in the money. Now, let me state one thing. Financial success is awesome. It's very sweet. When you have that financial security, when you can build that bank balance for yourself, you clearly see the value it gives you. It gives you a level of confidence, gives you a level of, you feel like you have a foundation you can build something even better off of. But that's not the only thing that you're working towards. What you realize over time is that when you're an entrepreneur, the personal growth you see, the learning you have about who you're becoming because of this journey that you decided to be on is far more valuable than any form of financial success you get. The things you learn, things that help you evolve, the things that help you grow into the person you will become every single day as an entrepreneur have far more value, will compound so much more than any money you make. And it does one more thing, which I think this quote by Adam Grant states really well. The most meaningful way to succeed is to help others succeed. When you find growth as an entrepreneur, you are not just succeeding yourself. You're taking people with you, taking your employees, you're taking your consumers, you're taking the people who associate with you ahead. And the longer I've been an entrepreneur, the more I've learned that it's the people who were ex-employees who will have a nice thing to say even today to kind of meet you. It's the people you worked with who will always feel like they have also gained as much from this journey as you have. Just hearing those stories, having those conversations today gives me far more satisfaction than anything else does. And I feel that's one of the pieces, right? Is that when you're helping other people succeed, you see how you have succeeded yourself. And that's the whole point, right? Behind the growth, behind the hustle, behind this push to really grow and become a massive business and be an impactful business, there is something inherent which happens in your mind. You become more self-aware. You become a stronger person. You become more resilient. You learn how to manage your emotions, and you learn to look at life as a long-term daily process than just an endpoint you have to get. And to me, that is the most important learning of all that. When you're building a business, you aren't just building a business, you're building yourself. And these are 7 things that I put down, which I feel I have gained from being an entrepreneur. If there's some more which you've come across, or if you're an entrepreneur, if you have experience yourself, I'd love to hear those in the comments. So make sure you put that down there. Also, let me know what you think of this video. Are there things that you like, didn't like? Are there more topics you want me to focus on in future videos? Drop them in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video of Founders Notes with me. Also, yeah, click on subscribe and ring the bell icon so that you can catch more of this. If you're a parent and you finished watching this video and you want your kid to build more emotional intelligence and more emotional strength, then make sure you check out the EMoMee YouTube channel. I'm dropping the link down below. It's a place where you kids can actually learn about everything from confidence to their own emotions to building resilience and emotional strength and so much more. We're going to be dropping a ton of content there for parents to show their kids. But even if you're a grown up, you might learn a bunch of things over there as well. So make sure you check it out, and I'll see you guys in the next video.